I tell you, we could write a book on the things that we experience at the farmer's market, like rejection, funny stories, like getting into it with other vendors. Like I said earlier, sellers are okay accepting an offer where maybe it's not kind of that standard conventional 20% down type of deal. When you do deal with rejection in sales or prospecting business development, do you ever take it personal anymore? Because I'll be honest, I still do sometimes.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to ALLSMITH. Today we welcome a man with a great name who blends curiosity, grit, family values, and pure love for life, both on and off the sand. He's an entrepreneur, a realtor, a beach volleyball competitor, a coach, and the former creator of H&B's Guac Shack.
Ooh.
He represents self-proclaimed, I like this line that you shared with us, the above average at most things because he stays in the arena mindset. From helping run Urban Sands Realty and property manage it to building projects and chasing dreams, none other than Bryce Mayer. Welcome to the show, man.
Wow, that was incredible. I need to play that when I wake up every morning. Brycey, thank you. Thanks. The Bryces connect. I appreciate it.
Yes, they do. Dude, I'm pumped to have you on today. I want our listeners to hear, where this little, you had the itch to start a business. You had the entrepreneurial gene when you were young. And just to give a little bit of context as to how we got to the now and where your mind formulated a little bit, tell us about this Guac Shack.
Absolutely. Oh, the Guac Shack is a great one. Thanks again for that intro, man. Wow, I'm feeling on cloud 9 right now. Yeah, so we can go back to the Guac Shack days, which were some of, honestly, the most fun days of my life. One of my best friends, and still one of my best friends, Mr. Hayden Pronte, and we started a little thing called the Guac Shack. It started out as just a fun little kind of side hustle. We were literally picking things out of his garden and putting it into a bowl, mashing it up, and we put a little twist on his family recipe, and people loved it. We're like, man, I think we should try to sell this. I think we have something here.
It's also good in business and sales when you have absolutely nothing to lose and the only place to go is up. So inevitably, you're going to be the man in the arena, but you're also very risk tolerant at that point.
Absolutely. There's so much room for error when you're 17 and still living at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, we literally, our first batch, the avocados were donated to us from a family friend. So we really didn't have too much risk there. But I remember when we were getting going, we had a couple little fun things that we started out at. We talked about, we did a little volleyball tournament that we pedaled it. We had a little rolly cooler. We went door to door. But one of the funniest things was we decided to set up a booth at Balboa Park one day. No permits, we didn't have any idea what we were doing. Mm-hmm. And somehow we had all this buzz, all this attention because we were two little pipsqueaks, and we managed to create a rival in the neighboring magician. The dude was pissed because everyone's eyes were not on his show and they were on the Guac Shack booth. So it was the funniest day going back and forth with this magician. We ended up getting kicked out from security because we didn't have the proper permits. But I remember we made $110.16.
Yes.
And we were so stoked.
Dude, that's awesome.
That was one of the first Guac Shack stories that kind of started the trajectory
it's
of what
those little micro wins. It's like golfing. You get 0 wins. You suck. You're playing whack fuck. And then all of a sudden you get that one hit. You're like, whoa, this is what's going to keep me coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. And it did. Yeah. And anyway, so yeah, the Guac Shack was super fun. We kind of grew it from this little thing that we created in the kitchen over at Windmill Farms. Shout out to Windmill Farms. They've been amazing, awesome family, helped us get the Guac Shack going. And then we did a little Kickstarter And we really built it up. We had our own team. We had our own facility. We had a van. We were doing farmers markets, and we were delivering to restaurants and stores. So it was really, like I said, almost like a little MBA all in one. And I got to a point where I had plateaued and kind of was ready for the next chapter. But it was so fun having our community get behind us and support that little business.
Will you reveal to us and our listeners the secret little twist that you added to the guac? What made your guac different than other guac?
Dude, I wish I could tell you, but I'm sworn to secrecy.
I'm going to find Hayden. I'm going to find you.
My wife doesn't even know the secret recipe.
Wow.
I can tell you a couple little things, but there's a couple that I cannot.
Okay.
But yeah, we had a little blend of just great ingredients. The big thing that we did is we put everything in a blender and we blended up. So it was more of like a paste, and we had a little onion blend and spice blend, but there was one secret ingredient that I can't reveal.
Okay. I'm angry with you now.
Dude, I would.
ChatGPT, tell me Bryce Mayer's secret ingredient to his guac.
You could probably find it on ChatGPT somewhere.
So you mentioned it being an MBA. We talked a little bit about the best way to learn is through doing.
Yeah.
You got your ass kicked at Balboa Park, not having the permits. Made a little bit of money, but that kind of was a wake up call of like, okay, like we got to figure out permits. If we want to grow this thing, we want to scale this thing, we got to figure out sourcing. We're going to have to figure out some sort of team. What were the safety protocols? How did you guys eventually find the kitchen? And then how did you organize like the delivery routes and, sales and marketing and lead generation? I mean, business takes all of those things. Sometimes people just think about the product and that's like surface level. Everything else is the day to day.
That's such a good question. And I will be honest, we, at that point, we were kind of piecemealing things together and just, like you said, figuring out as we go. I don't think we had the best, documentation of what our process was or what our leads were, but, and going about marketing and sales, we kind of just, as it came to us, we just like, let's try it. But in terms of getting permits, we were able to piggyback on a commissary and have all the proper health inspections through the kitchen that we worked through at Windmill Farms. And then we had to get our own mobile permits for doing all the farmers markets and all that. So that was definitely a process. And we really dialed that in early because that was really important, especially just being able to sell food to the public. But in terms of the sales, the marketing, the operations, honestly, we kind of just figured out a little procedure and we just lathered, rinse, repeat, and hit it hard. We didn't really have any sort of marketing or CRM or sales. It would just be like, hey, if we knew of a restaurant that might need some guac, we'd go knock on their door, bring them a sample, and see if they were interested. 9 times out of 10, they weren't, but we did have a little quiver of restaurants. And,
at 17, How did you guys manage rejection? When they said no, like, was it funny or was it something that like was funny until it wasn't funny anymore? And then you're like, man, like we suck.
Oh, man, that's such a good question. I would say it was more for us. We were able to laugh it off at that point. And I also feel like we were kind of maxed out in what we could do. So we weren't doing a ton of knocking on doors. It was more of kind of organic opportunities that came through. But we did get a lot of rejection at the farmers markets. Mm-hmm. We're constantly trying to get people in, and we were funny little kids, had funny little sayings, had a little chalkboard you could write something on. I'll never forget, Hayden always did the Hillcrest Farmers Market on Sunday, and he had a very loyal following. He's a good-looking dude. He's a charming dude. And I'll never forget this older woman, so funny, asked, hey, can I write something on your chalkboard? I want to sign it. Hayden said, sure, go for it. She does her little thing. She scribbles it out, kind of gives him a little wink and twinkle and walks away. And he comes out and takes a look. She wrote her phone number. No. She said, and you might need to edit this out. I don't know how this works, but she goes, you can smash my avocado anytime. And we just have like, I tell you, we could write a book on the things that we experience at the farmer's market, like rejection, funny stories, like getting into it with other vendors. It was such a funny experience. And honestly, I do think that what you mentioned, that rejection word, really helped me become resilient. Mm-hmm. And I was just over and over people saying, no, we're good. Thank you. We'll come back later. And those things, they do add up. They stack up, and they're kind of maybe painful in the beginning, but after a while you just kind of build this thick skin. And I think that's translated into other parts of my life too. Yeah. Would you say that you've had any sort of
a ton of rejection? And that's part of the reason why I asked. I mean, even now, like a ton of rejection, asking big time guests to come on the podcast, selling apparel, seeking ways to help people in their wellness and fitness journey, vendors and venues to host events, sponsors that we're interested in working with for the podcast. And then I came across Let Them by Mel Robbins. And you come to realize that it's not about chasing. It's about what you guys did at Balboa Park, which is attracting. And I'm curious, what was it about that experience at Balboa Park where you guys were able to gravitate and get attention? Was it music? Was it the taste? Was it the chalkboard? What was the thing that made people turn their heads towards you and away from the magician? Because I think that's a metaphor. It's an analogy for other things.
That's such a good question. And I also have one more question for you, because you said something really cool there. But I 100% think it was the energy that we were creating just with our personalities. Like, we were two goofy guys. I was a little bit more outgoing. Hayden was a little bit more reserved, which changed over time. But we were able to like have these funny sayings, and people would ask us what's in it, and we'd come up with some funny ingredient, and people's jaws would drop, and then we would just like, nah, just kidding. Like, it's just so we were really able to just kind of be different and be silly, and we carried that through our business. So I think that would be my answer there.
I think when you make humor your default emotion, it's lighthearted for people, especially in Southern California where everything's so expensive. The cognition becomes just complaining about work, about the price of things, about parking. And inevitably, when you have something that's lighthearted and fun, it allows you to be in a good mood despite having no things to be in a good mood about. And I think that diffuses into other people.
Absolutely. And I wanted to touch on what you said earlier, which was, when you do deal with rejection in sales or prospecting, business development, do you ever take it personal anymore? Because I'll be honest, I still do sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's why. There's been so much work that I've done to overcome and graduate from that. But inevitably, you're going to take 5 steps forward, and then you're going to take a step into familiarity. We went 90% of the way. We only really wanted you to go 10. Mm-hmm. We over-delivered here. We over-communicated. We're genuine in wanting to give. Mm-hmm. We're huge on that with ALLSMITH. Like, we don't want to be a brand that's takers. Mm-hmm. It's like any sort of deal or any sort of connection, we want it to be a win-win for both sides. And so the biggest thing that I've learned in alignment with managing rejection and taking it personal is unexplained expectations are premeditated resentments. And so going into every single relationship, creating the upfront expectations has allowed me to then realize, like, okay, why am I taking it personal? Is this just a feeling that's going to pass, similar to a car driving past? Or do I need to get in that car for a second and like better understand this? Is this a me thing? Or did I not create good enough expectations? Or did they not create good enough expectations? And I think when you allow the headspace to play in that like messy gray area and there's like fog on your lenses, it allows for each side to create a story that probably isn't true. Could be, but probably isn't. And that's where I think taking it personal is going to land on our lap for a little bit. What are your thoughts?
That's great. And yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I like the idea of kind of maybe flipping the script and saying, maybe what could I adjust or what could I have done differently is good. I find myself though, I've over the years, I for the most part am pretty resilient, but there are those couple scenarios where I'm just like, dang, dude, I think you're making the wrong decision. And I will say sometimes I'll even push back one more time, or in sales, maybe sometimes 10 more times. But at some point there's also a point where you just say, you know what, that's okay. I'm going to kind of take the best and I'm going to take the best and leave the rest, and really focus on the people that believe in me and want to do business with me or whatever it might be, or play volleyball with me or whatever it might be. And there's a lot of rejection on the volleyball front too.
What I'm feeling here based on what you're saying is I don't know that taking it personal is a bad thing. I think sometimes the world paints the picture that it is. But in what I just saw, if you communicate like, hey, I think you're making a mistake here, it shows true and genuine care. And you spend way more time in the real estate space than most other people that are wearing hats in different arenas. So to be able to come to you and realize like, hey, you're going to have somebody that has gas. And gas for me stands for give a shit. Means, hey, I'm looking at you, the human, and I think that this decision is going to optimize what you want and what you need. And here's why. And I think that there is something we talk about a lot on this show is just the blend between masculine and feminine. And I think it's a little bit of a feminine side. And I think being able to showcase that while prospecting, while in sales, like it is important. Otherwise you're just like stoic, nothing, you don't feel anything. You're just like, all right, F you, I'm on to the next one. Like on the phone with your assistant, this is a waste of time, like blah, blah, blah. And like now you're angry. And it's like holding on to a hot piece of coal. Like you're the one that gets burned, not them.
Totally.
And so I think it's a learning curve. I think it's a very important part of business that sometimes I'm stoked that you brought it up because it gets glossed over. People just come on podcasts and they want to talk about the shiny objects and all the success stories, but you've got to go through the rejection. Sure. And I also think there's a probability component where I might reach out to 100 people and get one response.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to ask you about. Like what I take personal a little bit is not so much rejection. It's the ghosting culture that we're in right now, right? 100%. Like you put in time and attention to customize something to reach out to a particular person, or you're thinking about a person and there's no response. And I don't expect it to be right away. I don't expect it to be on my timeline, but 2 weeks is a pretty good window. And that's the thing. I'm curious your thoughts, and maybe our listeners, if you want to put something in the comments, like why just not respond? Fuck, like it if you want, or just be like, hey, I'm busy right now, I'll take a look later. But to just not respond, and then here's the thing that really grinds my gears. You don't respond, and then later you reach out to me with an ask. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, so this is just a transactional relationship. I'm just a tool. I'm not actually somebody who you genuinely care about. And I think it comes down to people are fearful of having the hard conversation. They don't want to be mean, but I actually think it's meaner to just ghost and not respond.
I'm with you 1,000%. I don't have too many pet peeves in this world, but that's one of them.
Yeah. And
I'll even tell my wife all the time, I'm like, why couldn't they just send the email back that says, no, thanks, we're good, or whatever. I even sometimes will answer the call that I know as a real estate agent, you kind of answer every call because you never know, is this a potential buyer? Is this someone that I need to connect with? So I'll answer a lot of calls, even if maybe it might even say spam there. And I try to even let people know, hey, I'm not interested right now. Thank you for reaching out, and best of luck in your prospecting. Because I've been on the other line so many times with people just not answering, hanging up, not calling me back. So even that little flicker of light for maybe someone on the other line, I know it's silly, I can't do it all the time, but I just always try to be respectful of that person's effort. Even if it's we hate the spam calls, but if I for some reason answer the phone and it's something I'm not interested, I'm very rarely just gonna like hang up on someone or be rude to them. It's just, hey, like, best of luck in your prospecting. Like, I'm not the one for you.
Yeah.
So I'm with you.
I think what's great about that is it gets you out of your head, and now you're putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. You're also playing with the perceptual position of like being a bird on the wall, watching the situation or maybe listening to the situation. And I don't know, I think of it in the sense of life's hard enough. I don't want to be the reason why I made it harder for somebody else.
Right.
So like you said, like just giving somebody some good energy. Hey, thanks for reaching out. Like I'm in the middle of something right now. If you want to call back, at this time, or shoot me a text and we can powwow via text a little bit, because I'm usually on the floor coaching or doing something here. And hey, we can set up a time to connect so I can give you my undivided attention versus something rushed right now. Like timing's not good. Like being overly honest, I think is really cool. But something has happened in our world, man. You see it in social media where I don't know if it's a narcissism, but it's like, and I don't even know that it's purposeful. I think people just get so stuck in their heads and they're just like, oh my gosh, I've got to pay that bill and I've got to make that appointment. I've got that call and I've got that meeting and I got to go pick up my kids and the traffic's bad and I got to get the oil changed. That all of those ruminating thoughts start playing ping pong. So inevitably there's sometimes like a shortness or a negative vibration that's put out into the world. And I try to accept that. Like even if I, didn't signal or I did something, I'm by all means not perfect. But I don't really allow those things to ruin my day. Just on the way here, somebody like cut in front of me. And I was like, you know what? She was probably thinking about a call she had earlier. Maybe she didn't have the best sleep in the morning. Like, I'm not going to let that one thing ruin my day.
Yeah.
Had to slam on the brake a little bit. I'm fine. I'm glad that my reaction time can do that. And I'm glad she's safe too. And now we can go about our day in peace. I don't need to sit there on the horn and flipping people off. I think that's something that I wish more people took time to just like sit with for a second of, hey, that wasn't the best outcome. They were probably trying to make the best decision. It didn't go that way. Let me give them some grace. What are your thoughts on just giving people grace, especially when it comes to real estate?
Oh, good one. I'm with you. Yet I wish just the world in general had some more grace right now. Everything does seem pretty tense and tight. On the real estate front, yeah, especially let's take a transaction, for example, and you're dealing with, and maybe you're representing a seller and you're dealing with the buyer's agent. You got to have grace because there's so many different things happening and so many steps. Maybe they missed something or maybe they miscommunicated something. And I actually just recently had a situation like that where they miscommunicated something that was pretty important in the deal. And that totally could have blew up the deal. But because we both actually were able to connect, our side of things was able to have some grace. Say, okay, you missed that. We're all human. We were able to kind of continue a smooth and healthy cadence and tone with the transaction.
Tone is so huge.
Tone is huge, especially in real estate, and especially just in life in general, coaching. Just family, you could say something to your family member, your wife in one way or another, and the exact same words in another way, but it could come off so much different. So grace, massive when it's appropriate. Sometimes I feel like maybe it might not be as well, I don't want to say deserved, but I think for the most part, grace is needed. And then tone, it's so important when you're having communication with whether it's real estate, family, friends, whatever it might be.
So flip the script a little bit and diving back into that comparison or that contrast of masculine and feminine. Sometimes I feel like I give grace when I should draw a line in the sand.
That's what I was trying to get at there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's more appropriate to maybe be a little more firm.
Yeah, and that's something I've learned, ironically, since getting married. I got married in April. And
congrats.
Thank you. It's so interesting because obviously it's not just about me anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I've come to realize that I care less about being liked and more about being respected. And that means that here are the expectations. We should be pretty close to that. And if behavior shows that you're not respecting the boundaries, then we're going to have a hard conversation, because now you're keeping me from my family, or you're doing something that is now having a trickle down effect on other people, not just me. And that's something that I wish I would have learned sooner. I think I navigated a lot of people pleasing and being liked when I was younger, because I got rewarded for it, in the sense of, oh, that person likes me. They signed up as a client. Now I get to serve them. And now even in coaching, I've come to realize, like, okay, there can be elements of that. But then telling them the hard truth about, hey, your habits suck. Like, we need to clean up your morning routine, your evening routine, your food. Like, training and being in optimal positions for 1 hour, 3 or 4 days a week is not undoing the other 23 hours of the day. Like, let's take a snapshot as to what's really going on, because the things you don't change, you choose. And like, you can hear the tone switch there, where it may come off and like, oh my gosh, Bryce, but it's like, hey, that's real love, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you're dancing around and you're just sugarcoating stuff, and that doesn't help people move the needle in the right direction.
That's something I could definitely be better at. I feel like, and I do some volleyball coaching too, and I have a counterpart who is so direct. He's awesome. His name's Kyle Merchant, and we kind of have a little bit of a yin and a yang. So like, I'm a little bit maybe more sugarcoating things, and he'll just boom, hit you right in the heart where you need to hear it. But people love that. People respect and appreciate that. I think they love and appreciate both sides, but I think you have to have a little bit of both, because if you're all this way or you're all that way, it doesn't balance the way it should. And I think personally, I could be better at saying how it is sometimes, because in life in general, I do try to be positive, optimistic, but sometimes you do have to tell it like it is, and be a little bit more firm, or draw the line in the sand, like you said.
Do you experience, when you do practice the art of being a little bit more direct in a certain scenario, then you observe how it's received, and it's not necessarily received the way you want it? Because in your brain, I'm assuming this is the process. Okay, I gave them that compliment. I gave them, maybe a compliment sandwich, where there's a little bit of constructive criticism. It's not working. It didn't work last week. I'm seeing them again. They're doing the same thing. I'm going to be a little bit more direct to try to change my script. I'm not actually mad or anything, but I'm going to try to come off that way, to try to be disruptive enough to change the behavior. But then you do that, and they're taken aback, and they don't really know Bryce to be that way. Mm-hmm. So then all of a sudden you're feeling this tension, and you're like, oh, like you might like then try to soften it a little bit. The session ends, and you walk away, and you get in your car, and you're like, fuck. Like, I could have said it this way, or I could have said it that way. And then you're like, you know what? I got to let it breathe. And you're like, okay, I'm going to see him in a couple days. Like, we can chat about it then, or, I'll send him or her a text or something. But that's part of like a relationship. Like, you're going to have moments of tension that way. I'm sure you've had that with your wife. I'm sure you've had that with business partners. How do you navigate those situations?
Man, you hit a lot of things right on the head, man. It's so interesting. I love, we kind of have a very similar way of, I think, thinking about things. I think you have a better way of putting them into words. But yeah, I was just kind of going back in my head thinking about when you said that, and I've definitely, and because I know I'm cognizant that I do want to be more direct sometimes, and sometimes I'll maybe be a little bit more direct or sharp, and it'll kind of, the other person will be kind of like, that's kind of weird. Like, you're not, that's not really how you normally, come after me. So I don't have, I'm still working on that and working through that. But I think, to your point, is if it is someone you care about, and someone that cares about what you think, or if maybe you're coaching someone, or maybe it's a client, it's worth it to have those hard conversations, and maybe go through those uncomfortable interactions, and have that time to think about it and go through it, because that person cares about you, you care about that person. And if it's just all butterflies and rainbows all the time, like, that's just not as genuine or sincere as having to get a little bit hard on someone and being honest with someone, telling them the truth when it might hurt. Mm-hmm.
The other thing I've come to realize as well, this just came to me, asking for permission, or like observing the body language of the other person. If they're coming in, they had a terrible day, probably not the day to do that. But if you asked him like, hey, what do you need right now? Are you looking for feedback, or are you looking to be inspired and motivated today? And then we can address, I'll put these other things into a little file cabinet and we can address them when you're ready to receive. Because nothing's worse than like putting all this stuff out there and throwing the shit at the wall and then none of it sticks.
Yep.
And
It's
so
just it's not the right day or the right person.
yeah. So timing does really matter.
It does. And when we were talking earlier, I was thinking when we were talking about being, a little bit more firm or less firm, I think it also just really depends on the person. You have to really be able to read the room. Sometimes I'll coach a session that has 25 people in it, and there's 3 of us coaches, and I'm running the group. And you and you maybe break them up into 8, 3 groups of 8, little, different levels. You really have to just be able to read the room. You have to be able to read 24 people as best you can to know, okay, who can I push a little bit? Who do I need to be a little bit more soft with and be able to give them some softer feedback? So, like you said, every day is a little different, and every person's a little bit different too on what they might find most receptive. Are you doing more one-on-one stuff, or are you doing more group coaching?
Both.
Okay.
So the answer to your question is I do what's called individual program design in a group setting.
Okay.
So I'll have 5 to 12 people usually at a time, and every person's on their own individual program, but they're in the same space. And so I might have one person that's training for high rocks, and then I have another person that, is a busy entrepreneurial mom that wants to lose weight. And then I might have a nurse that didn't sleep last night that, wants to look good, feel good, play good, and change her energy before, her next shift. And then I might have a couple dads that are just like, hey, I want to get on the floor and be able to play with my kids, and I want to go play ice hockey on the weekends and be a weekend warrior. And then I might have people that are just interested in functional bodybuilding. And so it allows my day to be very malleable. I had a little bit of a stint with the fire department. I really appreciated when I worked with the fire department that every day was a little different. It wasn't just like mastering the mundane every day where it just became this monotonous thing, going to the same place, doing the same thing. I love being able to have innovation and challenge and think on my toes. And so I used to do a lot more group coaching, which I thought was fun, but I felt like it was fitting a square peg in a round hole. I mean, when you look at, you work with tall athletes in volleyball, they don't need to be squatting 300 plus pounds all the time.
Right.
And that was something in the CrossFit space that I just felt like I was trying to get people to move a certain way with a barbell. And for some people, it just didn't work well. But I can do a Bulgarian split squat with a taller athlete, and it can be customized to their levers, to the length of their femur, and it can really translate well to their sport. Now they're leaving being like, man, my legs are a little bit smoked, not, hey, my knee hurts and my back hurts from trying to manipulate that weight that just doesn't fit with the dimensions of my body. And so I'm very thankful with a little bit of a physical therapy background, working at a university for a bit, where I just feel like I can pull from lots of different elements of wellness and fitness and then create like a digestible smoothie specific for each person. And then every now and then I do feel like people need like a very simple community style, mindless HIIT style workout, and I will pair them up. And their goals might be completely different, but in that moment they're going to be doing running and rowing and burpees and kettlebell swings and shouldered overhead. And it is fun. Like just last night I paired 2 people that didn't even know each other. And it was cool because by the end they were like shooting content for each other. They became friends. One actually works in real estate. The other one was a nurse. And so they became friends. And it was really cool to see how doing something hard brings people together.
Absolutely.
And especially in this day and age, that's where I wanted to take our conversation next is community, man. We see like LSKD run clubs, super cool, but they've kind of become like dating mash pots. You see like coffee and chill kind of taking place. Same thing, kind of a dating mash pot. Most people don't have community after high school or after college sports other than maybe church. I think CrossFit did a master class in community at first, but that's starting to disperse a little bit due to the complexities and some of the challenges within the branding of that sport. What are your thoughts on creating community? I'm sure you guys have a lot of it in volleyball, but outside of that, other than work and family, it's kind of like, I feel like loneliness is really floating to the surface with social media where we seemingly are connected. It's like, oh yeah, I know what Bryce is doing because I saw it on his story. You don't really know how somebody's doing.
That's so good. Because coming in before this chat, I was just kind of thinking through some of the things we might talk about. And I really kind of have 3 pillars in my life. It's volleyball, competing and coaching. It's business, Urban Sands. And it's the third one is community for me, which is in my mind actually was more of my family and my friends was my community. I think you're thinking maybe outside of that. I've always been such a big community guy. Even in college, I was trying to do like a Sunday potluck and just get people together. You know, for my birthday every year, I tried to throw an event where we'd play broom ball, and I just get all different walks of life, friends together, and just do something different and fun. Have you ever played broom ball, by the way?
Mm-mm.
Basically,
Immediately I thought of Harry Potter.
it's basically the combo of field hockey and soccer on ice.
Oh, okay.
So we do this once or twice a year. We'd have a different theme, dress up theme with your animals, or we had south of the border or Olympics, whatever it is. And you're just getting after it on and you'd hang out after and really just have a fun community day. So even at the volleyball club, I try to have a community day once a year where it's just a free event. I got like a DJ once, a taco stand once, and we just hang out and play volleyball and connect. And to be honest, that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm still coaching volleyball. Because I coach youth athletes too, which is awesome. But having that community, I'm lucky because I'm kind of running that operation, but having a place where people can come after work 6 to 8 every night, come play volleyball, hang out, chat, laugh, get sandy, get sweaty. It's priceless. And it's hard. It's even hard to put a number on. Like people say, oh, you know, like, is it worth it with the money and the bandwidth? And I do have those thoughts, but the community aspect is so important. And I think if I didn't, and I don't know if I'll be doing that forever, but if I didn't, I'd need to fill that gap with something else.
Yeah.
Friends trip, like we try to do a friends trip once a year. We try to do little barbecues. And I don't think I think to your point, like those are fewer and far between nowadays. I don't know if COVID had something to do with that. But it's just I crave that. I crave being able to connect and just hang out, cook, chill, just be with my people when I can. And I think it's harder to do nowadays.
The Trident family taught me something really important this last year, that we are all a bundle of stories, both good, bad, and everything in between. All of their cold brews remind their customers that they are part of something bigger than themselves. I start my day with the Sweet Cream Cold Brew as I am prepping my mind and body for fitness, service, coaching, and podcasting. With various locations in San Diego, they offer over 14 nitro cold brews and a variety of specialty drinks. You can find the perfect brew and pair it with one of their treats from the Keto Bakery. You can check them out over at tridentcoffee.com and use code ALLSMITH to take your coffee experience to the next level.
Something that I've realized in relation to this, I'm going to say a controversial statement that I think will ruffle your feathers a little bit. Not you, but the world. Most people are trying to be more interesting than interested. And so when I look at community, I think oftentimes people are like, why should I go to that? What am I going to get? I don't think that's the right question. I think the question should be, what can I give? Who can I potentially motivate, inspire, or share love? And I think that idea, I hope, diffuses outside of this conversation, because now you're going with a malleable mindset as opposed to going there with open hands.
Yeah.
What comes up for you when I reference that?
That's a pretty profound thought, because, man, I wrestle with this thought, because being a self-employed individual, it's hard to detach a lot of the time from like being out there and always be closing, always be prospecting. You know, that's kind of sometimes the mentality you have to have is like, you're always trying to put yourself out there. Whether it's getting people to come to a volleyball clinic or selling real estate. And that is something that I wrestle with. And I do want to be genuine. I want to be someone who people can connect with. And it's not like you walk in and say, oh, Bryce again, like he's going to ask me if I want to buy a house or sell a house. And I almost try to cognizantly, in certain scenarios, detach from business. And to your point, just hang out, ask people about their day, ask people about what's going on at work with the family. Like, it can be hard to do that in this hustle and bustle world, especially when you're trying to grow a business. And as you know, just stay on top of the curve, stay on top of the game. So yeah, that's a profound question. I think having that mentality of what can I give, I think that's amazing. And I'd love to do more of that personally. Because
it's difficult. And I think oftentimes the way I'm thinking about it is, can I give space? Right? Like I was just talking to a buddy the other day and I was like, hey man, like, how are you? I called him at like 10:30 at night. It's like one of my best friends. And I hadn't chatted with him in a little bit. And he's got 3 kids and he's in real estate development. He's busier than ever. And I kind of thought like, hey, I don't really want to call it like 8:30 or so. He's probably putting some of the kids to bed. Probably wants some time with his wife. So randomly, like, it was like 10:23. I just called him. He goes, hello? Is everything okay? Exactly. And I was like, yeah, dude. I was just calling to see how you're doing. He was like, nobody does that. That's and I was like, your asshole friend from 5 years old does. And it's an interesting thought because I think the world now, like even on the street here, you say like, hey, what's up? And people are like, what do you want? What are you selling? Like,
totally.
And it's kind of like turned off a little bit versus like certain places you do that and they're like, oh, hey, how are you? Like, you look so healthy. Like, you know, I saw you out on the volleyball court the other day. That's awesome that you guys were out there having fun. The way you move in the sand was so cool. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a stench in the world right now where everything is monetary and capitalism. And it's just something I notice. It's not something that's always, it's not, but it is something that I think is more now, or maybe I notice it more now because I'm in it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think a lot of that probably comes from the social media piece, like constantly getting ads thrown at you. You know, walking down Costco trying to get solar and stuff, you know, whatever it is sold at you. There's just a lot of people in your face, and I think that comes back to like why genuine community is so refreshing and nice, because you can just have a barbecue or go surf with a buddy and you can get away from all that, you know? And I think that's what makes it that much more special and that much more important and harder to do.
That's the selling point for the 9-to-5 though, right? The 9-to-5 sounds great because you get to turn it off. And you may not really fully turn it off, but you turn it off more than when you're self-employed. And somebody said to me when I started ALLSMITH, it was like 3 or 4 months in, they're like, dude, like you seem so much happier. Like when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I was like, false. When you love what you do, you work 10 times more than you did before. Like I've never really been like a super early morning guy. I love waking up early now because I'm so passionate about what I'm doing. But that just means an extra 4 hours of work in my day. And it's an interesting thought experiment because there is a lot more freedom and flexibility. You can hop on podcasts, you can go grab a lunch, you can move your schedule around. But it is hard to draw that boundary at the end of the day. Being a father, how have you integrated that into your life where you want to be a provider and a protector? You're like, hey, I've got my wife and my kid at home.
It definitely makes things a little more challenging. I will first and foremost say shout out to my wife, Chloe, who is an absolute just machine rocks. I don't even know. She's just absolutely holding down the fort. And that does allow me to still continue to do, because one of my goals was still be able to do things that make me feel good and allow me to be a good dad at home, like get my workout in, get some volleyball in, continue to work and kind of keep our business going. And her being at home, just absolutely crushing it and being able to juggle so many things has really helped. But Having a kiddo changes the game, man. It's so cool, and I love it way more than I could even have possibly imagined. But yeah, I mean, you got to get up early. You got to stay up later. You might have to answer those emails like after you put them down or whatever it is, and it does kind of stretch your day out. And I think having an amazing partner helps be able to do that. But also, you kind of expand, your heart expands, your bandwidth. It almost, if you want to continue to be doing what you're doing and be productive and be a high producer, like you have to expand. You have to have more space and more time and more brain power. So it's challenging. And I haven't figured it out. I'm 3 months in. But I will say that knowing that everything that I do will affect his life and my wife's life and my family's life even gets me a little choked up thinking about it. It makes it like that much easier to make that call or make that trip or go down to that meeting or answer those late emails because I know it's going to come back and directly affect my family.
Yeah. I'm not a father yet, but I am a dog dad. And something that crosses my mind sometimes is when I get home, the dogs think I'm so cool. They're like, where'd you go? Like, we're so happy you're back. Da, da, da. And sometimes when I'm out in the world and I'm just having those low moments or imposter syndrome is there, you're navigating the rejection or, whatever's going on. Maybe you don't feel that great, whatever. I'm like, I want to at least try to be as cool as my dog thinks I am.
I love that.
At least try. Yeah. I don't want to go up to the plate and like try not to strike out. Like I want to go out there and try to hit a freaking home run.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's just an interesting headspace concept for people to kind of toggle with.
I like that. I don't have dogs, and I don't think my son even really knows who I am yet.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. I think hopefully someday I get that feeling of coming home and he's stoked to see me and just trying to hold yourself to that standard. That's always the goal.
Yeah, totally. Real estate, man.
Whoo. Yeah.
It's tough for people our age to try to own these days.
It is. It's an interesting time in the real estate world right now, especially for our age group.
People between the ages of like 25 and 40. It's tough, right? Like back in the day, you save for a couple of years, you work your 9 to 5, you can kind of get your foot in the door. Now it's like if you're not dual income, and even if you are, that's also dual tax. Mm-hmm. Now you're figuring out, your tax returns, you're figuring out cash flow, you're figuring out probably over 6 figures to put as your down payment. Mm-hmm. Most people can't do that. What is the advice that you give for this younger generation as to how to maybe leverage a small crack in the door in the real estate space?
Awesome question. No questions asked. It is very challenging to get in, especially as a first-time buyer right now. That being said, I'm glad you asked that. Things are still, prices are high, interest rates are still relatively high, but I will say right now, this little pure bandwidth or little bubble that we're in, I think there is a little crack, maybe a medium crack, maybe a big crack for buyers right now. I'm seeing things sit on the market longer. I'm seeing price drops. I'm seeing people get repair requests accepted. So I'm not saying it's by any means easy, but we're in a little period right now where as a buyer, you have a little more flex than you did in the last 2, 3, 4 years where people were getting 10 offers in 3 days. Mm-hmm. Things are still high. I don't really have the solution for that. I mean, that's just, there's so many factors into, earnings and how you're saving and your strategy. But I will say right now, I've been in quite a few transactions where we've had the buyers get a heck of a deal because the sellers are motivated and they're seeing their property sit and they're a little more open to the fact of, okay, I might have to take a lower offer. I might have to have some concessions here. And I might have to give some things up that I maybe didn't have to give up a year or two ago. Mm-hmm. So that's my little insight right now. if you're on the fence, if there's any way to make it happen, I don't have the crystal ball. I don't know if we're going to have a huge crash, or we're going to have if interest rates come down, if there's going to be a big influx. But what I have seen in the last 6 to 9 months is some good deals on the buyer side of things.
Mm-hmm. As far as the sellers, like you said, properties are sitting a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, like in close proximity, there's fire sales, which then it's tough for the property that's close to it that might be sitting to then sell. Mm-hmm. And then we're seeing, this is pulled a little bit from the conspiracy space, but I feel like the big companies, Vanguard, BlackRock, they're price gouging a little bit in the sense of, they're selling to themselves, and then they're elevating the price of certain neighborhoods and certain areas where now the modern day consumer can't get their foot in the door. And I feel like with the hint of these cities that are more like tech savvy, you don't have to drive anywhere, like the world doesn't really want you to own anymore. And then if you do own, the whole conversation around property taxes begins. And I know there's some political conversation around, like, are we going to abolish property taxes? What's that going to look like? I'm curious your thoughts there, because it almost seems like big company is Pac-Manning the small guy.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's definitely on the radar, and definitely makes things tough for just regular buyers like me and you. I do think, just a little plug, I think that is where having a partner and a real estate agent or a friend that has their eyes on the ground or their feet on the ground, and they do know when things might be coming up and can maybe give you an in before it hits the market, or I think that's almost a huge value in knowing someone in the industry, at least, that can maybe give you an in on something before a big investor comes in and gobbles it up or puts a high offer in that you can't compete with. Mm-hmm. So that is tough. I mean, I don't know the solution on that front. Man, it would be so sweet if we didn't have to pay property taxes, mm-hmm. or maybe we could just pay half of what we pay. Yeah, because that does gobble up a good chunk of cash for your monthly payment. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that would do to like the municipalities and trying to get our streets, fixed and all that good stuff. But
well, what's interesting is yes, right? Like, I'd love to hope that my property taxes go to that, but our homeless situation's worse than it's ever been before, right? Like, it doesn't seem safe, especially in places like downtown. East Village, where I worked for a very long time. I mean, there's needles all over the floor. There's fentanyl. There's all kinds of things that simply aren't creating safety to the eye. And so you're promised that your taxes are going to a certain place, but seemingly the things that they're saying they're going to are not. So it's creating, like you said, that tension, and the reason why we're having all these protests and violence, and it stems a lot from where the majority of the money is coming from. And real estate seems to be that space where maybe it has a trickle down. And I'm not seeing a ton of houses up for sale right now, at least in La Mesa, but maybe there are, in PB and more coastal. But what are your thoughts on just the ideology around the world not really wanting us to own and wanting everybody to rent everything? And it still feels like renting because property taxes are so high.
Yeah. I mean, inventory, I just looked at a little stat log that says, inventory is still low, and it's lower than it was a year ago, even though it feels like things are sitting longer, at least in San Diego and looking at single family houses. That's a really good thought. I still do believe that there's a lot of value in owning a home and building equity over, my goal is to have a couple rental properties and then, pay them off in 20, 25, 30 years. And then that's going to be my retirement. I don't have a pension. I don't have a big 401k. I work for myself. So I do see the value in having rental properties pay themselves off over years and being able to have some cash flow. When you're looking at a property that you're living in and you're looking at the difference between renting and the cost to own, there's a big gap right now, especially with interest rates. There's a big gap for that same house to rent and own.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just it's a lot of a personal preference of, hey, does this make sense for me? Building this equity and trying to I kind of look at it as like a big savings account where you're paying this maybe what might be more than rental, and you're kind of burning that cash and paying your property taxes. That's not going into a savings account. But over the course of, if you stay in something for 10, 15, 20 years, you've stashed that equity rather than just paying it to the landlord. Mm-hmm. And I'm also a landlord. So I get the other side of things where, hey, if I am just paying rent, I don't have to pay, if the hot water heater goes out, I'm not having to pay my property taxes, my insurance, all that stuff.
Significantly less risk.
Yeah, significantly less risk. So I 100% as a real estate guy, like I understand both sides of things. But with where interest rates are at now, they're still in, low to mid sixes. It's a big payment to own in San Diego, if you want a house, it's going to be $1 million plus or minus. Mm-hmm. So even if you're looking at $1 million or 1.2 or 1.4, if you want, a house in La Mesa or a house in Claremont or a house in University Heights, that's kind of the range you're looking in. And that's a substantial amount of money each month.
For people that want to get into a single family home that's roughly in that price range, what's an average down payment that you see in your world?
So a lot of first time buyers are still doing that 20%, unless you're doing like an FHA or a VA loan where you can, put in 0 to 5%. But we are still seeing a lot of 20, 25, 30%. I'm working with a family right now that was able to get closer to that 30%, and it helps chip their monthlies down. But to your point, these are dual income families that are both grinding and both they put in, 5, 7, 8 years of saving for that down payment. So it's easier said than done, but you got to just be hyper diligent about stacking that money away. And you can still get an offer accepted for less than 20%, a lot of the ones I'm seeing are still at that point, but I think especially now, like I said earlier, sellers are okay accepting an offer where maybe it's not kind of that standard conventional 20% down type of deal.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the potential rumors of this 50-year mortgage? Right? Because right off the bat, it sounds to maybe the person that's not as well informed, oh my gosh, like I can spread this out across 50 years. My monthly payment's significantly lower. I could get in, I could do that. But on the back end, you're paying what, $500,000, $600,000 potentially more?
I personally don't like it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know a lot about it, but I've just seen calculations and I see it doesn't save you that much more per month. And then
it's like $300 max per month.
And then you're looking at how much more you're paying in interest over that next 20 years. I don't like it, but I need to know more about it before I can really dive into it and speak about it. There's so many speculations, so many things, even at the city level of laws that are going to pass that I do my research, but until it's official, because there's so much of it, especially on the short-term rental front, until it's locked in and it's in there, I don't know if it's speculation or if it's actually going to pass until it actually does.
Yeah.
So just from what I've seen on the 50-year, I don't love it, but I can dive in more if it actually comes through and that's an option for people.
For sure. It's been very public now that Bill Gates is the largest owner of farmland in the world. And so going back to my comment about Vanguard and BlackRock, do you think big companies are distorting the market?
I think they have an effect for sure. I think investors in big companies like that definitely add to some inflation of numbers, especially on, if they're fixing and flipping or whatever it is. And as for the farmland, that's interesting. I actually didn't know that. That's wild. But yeah, I definitely think that has an effect on it. And I think cities and municipalities are trying to combat that in certain things that they do. I definitely know on the short-term side of things, implementing things like permits and more taxes, they're definitely trying to make it harder for investors to like buy a property and just either have it sit or even rent it out as an Airbnb. And I see the value in trying to combat that and trying to, soften prices, stabilize prices, bring them down. I think there needs to be regulation in that. But as a business owner who owns a short-term rental company, I also see the value in being an individual that can buy a property and kind of do whatever he wants to do with it. Rent it out short-term, long-term, live in it. So it's interesting looking at from like an investment side of things, and then as like a client side of things, or just a regular individual side of things. And
I like that you have both though.
Yeah.
That makes me happy, because then you're not just biased on one side, obviously.
Absolutely.
When you look at short-term rentals, or the world of Airbnb specifically, they're taking a hit. Like they blew up early on. It seemed like a more intimate way to have a hotel. But then it became almost like a common area of an apartment complex where people stopped caring. Where, from my observation, both being at Airbnbs and then also being in hotels, especially for basketball, the Airbnb is tough now. There's like cameras everywhere, so you feel like you're being watched when you're there. And then there's not always like clear, concise rules and regulations. Like, do you want the sheets off the bed afterwards? Do you want the trash cans emptied? Do you want the towels put in the laundry room? Like, what are all the rules? And I've seen some owners then have huge fees on the back end for cleaning services or this, that, and the other. But like, the place wasn't trashed or anything, but then, the expectations weren't met. But then I've also seen people just not take care of Airbnbs and actually trash them. And then the owner, draws the line in the sand, holds them accountable. But then that person writes a terrible review on Airbnb, which then depreciates their ability to then rent or rent at that price. So it becomes this he said, she said between Airbnb being the mediator, the owner of the property, and then the person that's performing the short-term rental. And it's almost like Yelp. Like, I don't even believe the reviews anymore, because the good ones are usually bought, and the bad ones, usually there's something that took place that I don't know about. So it's created this tension within that space where I feel like Airbnb is starting to like kind of trickle downwards.
There are a lot of moving parts on the short-term rental side of things. And you touched on the communication. That's where you need to have a good property manager, explaining what needs to be done. In terms of costs, I totally hear you. I mean, when I go stay in an Airbnb, it's tough when you get dinged for like a massive cleaning fee, and you're like, dude, like this place looks almost the same as it does when I got in. But on that front, costs, wages have gone up over the last couple of years. I mean, that's just something across the board. In terms of the for cleaners and for maintenance vendors and handymen and all that, things have gone up, so that probably just gets passed on to the consumer. In terms of the reviews, that's a tricky one, and it's a very sensitive one, because everyone's trying to get good reviews and keep their property or their little business. If you're an Airbnb owner, that's a little business for you. Those reviews really do matter. So negative stars hurt, negative reviews hurt. And there is a little dance you have to do to try to make sure like all parties are happy and you're trying to create the best experience possible. And if there is something that goes wrong, which it does a lot of the time, how do you communicate with that client so that they're not leaving a 1-star review and kind of hurting that business? I guess that can go for any business, but the reviews things is just, in any industry is just crazy to me too. It's hard to know what's real, what's a bot, what actually happened, what he said, she said, what's right. So that's the Airbnb. It's a lot of moving parts.
What are your thoughts on furnished finders?
Furnished finders, cool. And I would say overall, you mentioned it too, but like the short-term market and the hotel market is just down over the last year or so. whether that's experiences or whether that's the economy or whatever it is. Furnish Finder as well. We've used Furnish Finder in the past, not as much so because that's more for. We did a lot during COVID when we had a lot of nurses and people working remote and they wanted 3-month leases or whatever it is. But it's cool. I mean, if you have we don't do as much of it anymore, but if you're an owner that kind of wants a hybrid model, or maybe you're coming and staying in it a little bit, but you want to rent it out when you're not there, it's a good option if you can find a tenant.
You mentioned really trying to have a good property manager. That sounds great as a solution. But if you're the owner of that property, that's cash flow that now you're spending.
Absolutely.
And there's some peace of mind. You know the place is probably going to be safe. The I's are going to get dotted. The T's are going to get crossed. But it's a big expense. And as a business owner, you're always trying to cut costs as much as you can. How do you kind of play with the numbers there? And what does the interview process look like? Because I've spoken to a lot of people and they're like, hire slow, fire fast. Because property managers, they think like, oh, I'm going to get to stay at this place for free. And then I'm going to watch these other units over here. And like, it almost becomes this like chill thing. And it might be most of the time until that one toilet gets clogged or there's a leak or, something really bad happens. And then it's like, whoa, this is going to be the determining factor if I have a really good property manager.
Yeah. So there's two answers to that question, because we do property management for long-term rentals and we do property management for short-term rentals, which are very different day-to-day equations. Both have a cost. One's more than the other. Short-term management there's a lot more day-to-day work that goes into that, and that costs more. And then long-term management, there's a lot of work up front being done, selecting a really good tenant, doing background checks, referrals, doing all that. And then you're maintaining that property when requests come in for maintenance, X, Y, and Z. I think a property manager is worth their weight in gold. Obviously, I'm a little biased there, but having that peace of mind, having people who are on the clock 24/7, so you can go handle your stuff and be a pro at what you're doing, and then let us handle what we're doing and be a pro at that. It is an expense, but knowing that people are let's look at the short-term side. Knowing people are being responded to in a timely manner, knowing any sort of issues that might come up are being handled ASAP, even if it's, something that goes out after hours and you need an emergency, whatever it is, hot water heater or fire alarm goes out, whatever it is. Properties there's always something. But I think as an owner, looking at the peace of mind and having all that taken care of, and not really, a lot of our clients, they just collect their check at the end of the month. They don't have to be involved with anything. It's an investment for them. Personally, I think it's so worth it to have that. If you don't want to if you have the time and bandwidth to be in it and be in the nitty gritty, go for it. But it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of headache there.
You mentioned 24 hours. Does that mean your phone stays on call for some of those properties that you look at?
We have like a Google Voice phone that will go out to us and all of our team members. So there's always someone that has access to that kind of central number. So yeah, I've gone out to properties at midnight and helped fix something.
Wow.
And we could also write a book on all the different things that have happened at Airbnbs. It's wild.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm
sure. What am I not asking about real estate that people should know? Because I feel like there's perceptual things and the things that float in the media, which is some of the things that we've touched on. But then there's the nitty gritty. It's understanding maybe the skeleton of the house, the plumbing, the roofing. What's the quality of the architecture in and of itself? How do you know if there's mold? What's the electrical looking like? What are some of the things that people should look into? Maybe they're renting a house and they're renting to buy, or they're recently married and they're starting to poke their head around a little bit and see what's out there. What's some valuable information that people should have aside from just the aesthetic and how many rooms and bathrooms it has?
Great question. The biggest thing, and this is kind of going one step further, but in any time you're looking at a property, and any time you're interested, or maybe you're in escrow, or you've got an offer accepted, my recommendation is always go above and beyond in your inspection period. Oftentimes, some people will kind of just get that home inspection, and then that home inspector will kind of recommend things, or he might see this or that. What I like to do is, from the get-go, get in there, get your sewer checked out, get your roof checked out, get your, if you have solar, checked out. And that way you have, it's going to cost you a little bit more to get these different reports and get these professionals over, but I want my client to have so much information that they feel incredibly comfortable about what's going on with this property. And if they don't, we address it. And oftentimes that contingency period could be, 14, 17 days. You want to be on the ball. You want to get that scheduled ASAP and get that information in your hands as soon as possible. So besides the aesthetics, I like to go inside. What's going on in your attic? What's going on in your roof? What's going on in the sewer? And really get a big picture of what's going on. So that might be kind of obvious, but it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes it's just kind of topical and then you kind of move through.
I like that you mentioned the sewer though, because that doesn't always meet the eye. The roof, you can kind of see a little bit. The attic, you kind of think about it and you go up there and you might inspect. But the sewer is something like you check the toilets, you check the running water and you make sure it drains appropriately, but you're not actually getting it inspected most of the time. And going back to where we discussed like the roughly $1 million home, 3-bed, 2-bath, single family home. I feel like those homes are pretty old. Absolutely. And the piping is very old.
A lot of it's cast iron, right? We get a scope down there and we see all the joints, all the connections, all the way out to the city main. And you really get an idea, okay, this is 70 or 60-year-old, 70-year-old cast iron pipes. Could be in good shape. Might not be, but you would never know unless you're in that pipe looking at it with the scope. And even I just had a transaction where, and it was perfect that it rained last weekend because literally the gutters, downspouts, and underground drainage was clogged. And it doesn't really rain that much in San Diego, but this was a $10,000 to $15,000 fix to get the whole system fixed. And if we wouldn't have gone that extra mile to really know and what's going on, that would have been an expense for my buyer, my client, down the line, maybe in the next couple of years, that they would never even have known about if we didn't go that extra mile and get it all checked out. So yeah, things are old. Sometimes things don't get as much use, like what I was just talking about, or maybe you don't even know what's going on in that cast iron pipe. But that is a big, especially now, if a house is built in the 60s or even the 50s, 70s, if it's still cast iron, you really want to know what's going on there. So going the extra mile, I think, is my thought there.
A little bit of upfront cost for long-term peace and long-term function, more importantly.
Exactly.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
You guys do a good job getting into the details, which I appreciate.
You have to, man. Especially I work with, friends and family, and I'm not going to sleep at night knowing if I'm getting you into a house that I didn't do everything I could to make sure that you're taken care of and feeling comfortable.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that comes down to the character, right? Like doing it the right way, even when nobody's watching. Put your grocery cart away. Like it comes down to the integrity. And I think that's why you take it personal sometimes, because you're going into things with the highest level of integrity. And with that being said, man, real estate's a competitive space. There's billboards all over the place. There's certain people that are maybe territorial. Oh, I'm the guy for this space. And how do you navigate the competitiveness and maybe stepping on people's toes? Or maybe you have an open house and somebody else might be representing the open house in a similar capacity. What does that side of the business look like?
Amazing question. There is a lot of competition in this space. And yeah, sometimes, and there's a lot of personalities too, right? And sometimes feathers might get ruffled or toes might get stepped on. You do want to have good relationships in your industry because you never know when you're going to be working with someone, and you do your best. But dude, sometimes you just got to be a dog, and you have to just go for it and put your foot forward and prospect and obviously be respectful, but you do have to step up and take the bull by the horns when it comes to marketing and being out there, communicating with other agents, but also, being respectful and knowing that we might work together someday in the future. So that comes back to having grace, having good communication, clean communication, following up with people, letting them know, hey, thanks for letting us see that house. It's not the right one for my clients, but I'll let you know if anything changes and hope to work with you in the future. Rather than just ghosting someone and they got you to get into their listing and you don't even text back and say, thanks for letting us in. Mm-hmm. Little things like that also can, build connection.
Yeah.
I wanted to just take a quick second and I have a question for you, but I also wanted to take a quick second to say thank you to my real estate network. It's been a massive year for us, which it's been a weird year in real estate just in general, but I just want to say thank you so much. I'll have a chance to everyone that's believed in me and given us a chance. There's a lot of people that you could choose to work with. And it truly means a lot, whether you're working with us on the real estate side or the property management side. We really do appreciate that. And we take it personal because there's a lot of choices in this world, and trusting us and putting your faith in us. It's meant a lot. It's been a massive year, and we're excited to kind of keep growing with our people as we head into 2026.
Attitude of gratitude, man.
Yeah, it's huge, man. I mean, we just feel so fortunate, and I do try to go the extra mile, and I think that's the reason why we get referrals, and my wife and our team, Chloe and the team, they do such a good job, and we're starting to feel that snowball now, mm-hmm. where people are sending us business, people are circling back. I just helped a client buy a house. They referred us to their daughter, and those little things add up, and at the end of the day, it goes back. You're choosing a mom and pop brokerage, and you're helping support our family too. So, that's it means the world to us. And I just want to throw that out there while we had a chance.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's an interesting way to build trust, right? Like just a simple thank you, a simple recognizing and showing that people are seen, heard, and understood. Because people forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they never forget the way you made them feel. Mm-hmm. And if you did at least attempt to go the extra mile and show the bones of the house, create full transparency, that is an element of creating trust and wanting to over-deliver on the information before you spend your hard-earned money. Mm-hmm. But our world is very interested in price gouging. Oh, that's going to cost me a couple $100. Sorry, Bryce, I'm not interested in that. Mm. That's tough, right? Like we see that in fitness too. Like I like inviting people for an experience. I like connecting them with our tribe. I like sharing the ethos, the mission. And some people just, how much do you cost? Mm. And it's price comparison all over the place. How do you guys explore that? Because being a mom and pop, you're not part of a huge agency, which means it's a little more boutique. It might be a little bit more expensive, but totally worth it to be able to text you versus, oh, I have to go through this portal and I have to send an email to the assistant. The assistant's going to get in contact with the realtor. Now it's like a chain of command that creates time and it delays the process.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of get what you pay for in this world, I think, and being boutique has definitely been the reason for a lot of our success. I think in the real estate world, people, and this is bittersweet because people really want, when they text you have a question, they want to get response ASAP. And I understand that. I'm the same way. But that means you're on all day. If you're on vacation with your family, you're still on all day. You're never taking a break. If I'm at a volleyball tournament, I'm still on and answering questions and helping. But that's what you get with a boutique service, a mom and pop. And that's what we expect of ourselves. And that's what we convey to our customers is, this is what you're going to get if you rock with us and you ride with us. And we understand that there's a lot of other options, but you're going to get what you pay for with us, and it's going to be worth every penny.
Cheap is nice, but you'll buy it twice.
Exactly.
As far as being on like that, does that ever take a toll?
100%. I love to travel and I love to just do things, but I can't remember a trip in the last 8 years that I wasn't working. And it might not be the full day, but you've got to be on, and you got to be communicative with your people, whether you're halfway across the world or you're home. So it does take a toll. It's tough. You definitely try to find a balance. If my wife and I are on a trip, we try to kind of have designated time to where we're locking into work, and then we can go back and do our thing. But as you know, I mean, if you, I don't know, it's hard because obviously you want to reset and recharge, but if you do that too much or you take too many breaks,
You're missing an opportunity.
Yeah, you're missing an opportunity. And I think people sometimes also feel that if you're just like, oh, you're just gone all the time and you're responding to my questions like a week later. That's a lot of pressure for us, but at the same time, I think that's what helps people rise to the top or become that sharp arrow that's able to really go the distance.
Also goes to show that everything costs something, right? Like, okay, maybe you're not the 9 to 5, you have flex, but that comes with its own cost. And I think the perception sometimes from the outsiders, the famous phrase, must be nice. It's like, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's also really difficult sometimes. And I think you're signing up for both. And when you take ownership and responsibility for that choice, I used to have moments where I'm like, man, like I drew the boundary, I'm on vacation, like I don't want and I shouldn't be doing this right now. And then I pause and I go, what a privilege it is that this person trusts me to serve them. They could go to any other boutique fitness or wellness company and they choose to come to us. And now I'm appreciative of it.
Absolutely.
But it took maturity to get there and removal of that victim mentality, which I think creeps in every now and then for all of us.
Absolutely. No, you nailed it. And I had a question for you that is a little bit switching gears, but it's something that I've toyed with, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Being an athlete, being a high-level athlete, competitive. You know, I'm kind of at the back end of my beach volleyball career. I had a really good season this year, and I do want to continue for another couple seasons while the body lasts and I'm having fun and enjoying it. And I can, if I can juggle some competitions with family and work. But was there a point in your career where you had that switch of like, I don't know if I have it anymore like I used to. Mm-hmm. And it might be time to start considering, winding things down, or maybe I got a couple more seasons. What does that look like? And then when you finally made that decision, what was that like for you? And how did you deal with a transition from being a high level competitive athlete, pushing yourself every day, to maybe being more of a coach, businessman? But how did you deal with that transition and how did that affect you?
Yeah. To echo you, great question. Heavy question, very difficult question for most former athletes because it's an identity shift. It's a death that you grieve. Mm. And my transition from basketball to CrossFit had its own death. Mm-hmm. Because it was going to Christmas gatherings and people dabbing you up and giving you a hug. Oh, I saw you on ESPN last night. That was so cool. Or, hey, how was it playing overseas? Like I saw some of the highlights, or I saw the newspaper clippings, whatever. And you feel like that's your version of love. And then you see people and they're like, what do you do now? Mm. And you're like, whoa, I didn't realize what I did. Like identified me as a human. But it's not purposeful. Like at that time, I took that question personal. To kind of bring it back to our theme for today, but it's mostly people's way of trying to connect. They're like, oh, when I've seen this guy in the past, we always talk shop on sports, and that was a commonality. Great. Then I found CrossFit. That wasn't as much of an identity for me just because I felt like I had basketball at close to its highest peak. So that was more like scratching the itch of competition, the practical experience of what I was learning in exercise science and exercise physiology. And then it transitioned to some cool job opportunities and networking and opening of doors that I didn't know existed. Fast forward to 2018, I caught a snatch and tore my ulnar collateral ligament. Then I was like, self-reliance is everything. I can tough this out. I don't want surgery. I'll get PRP and I'll just keep doing chest to bar pull-ups and ring muscle ups. Then the brachioradialis got a small tear. And it was tough because I was still trying to compete. The younger generation was kind of coming in. And I was noticing my body not able to do a lot of the things that it once could. But more importantly, I started to feel separation from the tribe. Oh, he's having to scale workouts now. Oh, he's not competing in certain things. Oh, he's not lifting as heavy as he once was. And I went through an entire very challenging depression of, I'm loved for what I do, not for who I am. And there's all kinds of judgment for X, Y, and Z reasons. But at the end of the day, especially being a high-performing male, there's no asterisks. There's not like, this person was sick today, or this. It's like, did you get it done or did you not? That's what typically goes in the history books. And so it was a challenging time of looking myself in the mirror, but I think I held on too long and I kept trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, kept trying to still compete with the higher level athletes, knowing that I didn't really want to do it anymore. And it wasn't until I started to get separation from that environment that I came to realize that I didn't have fitness. Fitness had me. There's a big weight off of my chest when I say that, because fitness will always be a part of my life. Now I understand how to integrate it into my life, how to use sport as a playful, connective tool, not something that defines my character. And I think meeting my wife helped a ton because she played college soccer and then played professional soccer. So she and I could relate on that and understanding that those were chapters in our life that were formative and gave us the transferable skills into the now. And we can still shoot hoops together or kick a soccer ball back and forth or play catch with a with a football, or hit a volleyball back and forth, or go ride waves at the beach, or go for a run. Or if we want to do a high rocks, we can. Like, one of our philosophies is if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
And so we're not setting any world records, but she and I could go do a high rocks right now and be fine. We could sign up for a 5K or a half marathon and be fine. So I think what I've come to realize, to bring this answer full circle, it's very challenging. And we talk about it a lot in the men's retreats that we do of the transition phase and going from one version of you to the next version of you. We see it a lot with special forces where they go from, hey, I'm this stud Navy SEAL, and then I have no idea how to be a civilian. But there are the transferable skills. You just have to sharpen those edges to make them adaptable in each different arena. And I think being around a tribe of people that asks, how are you? As opposed to, what do you do? Is a different framework. I think it's there's less holes in that mental mindset. I think the other mindset is navigation of ego. And the ego can be a great tool, which I think it helped me a lot in my younger years. But transitioning where I didn't need to have a title, was a deconstruction of the ego that I think allowed peace. And I think, in my opinion, that is the definition of success. It's not ownership of the house. It's not tons of money. It's not anything other than love and peace. And if you look at the behaviors of people in the world, I genuinely think that that's what they're in pursuit of. And I'm very thankful now, being 35, that sport taught me that the transition taught me that, because it doesn't mean that you're not going to play volleyball anymore. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be an expert in the field that has reps and reps under your belt that you can pay it forward and teach in different capacities. It might mean you're not 2.5 feet over the net spiking down on somebody because you're choosing to put your time and attention into fatherhood and running a business. And you might have more roll shots, or you might, be blocking a little bit more, play more of a support role. But a great example was 2 nights ago when LeBron came back. Year 23, Luka's been averaging close to 40 points a game. Austin Reeves has been averaging close to 30 points a game. They've been, I think they were 11-3, or sorry, 10 and 3. Then LeBron steps in. You could tell he's a little anxious. Like everybody's asking, how's he going to fit? How's he going to look in year 23? LeBron had 11 points, but he had 12 assists. And he played a really good defense. And he got in passing lanes, and he was vibing with the guys. He was not disruptive. I think Luka had like 37 or 38, and Austin still had like 26 or 28. And so it's like his role changed, but he's still valuable. He doesn't take it personal when the media's like, oh, just had 11 points. Yeah. In his brain, he's like, no, I'm vibing with the guys. I'm building memories, and nobody's been able to do this for 23 years. So it's like, I think it's going to be a different framework in your mind, but it's for the right reasons. And I think to massage the ego a little bit, it's understanding like your style of play will change. The meaning of play will change. It'll be probably more playful escapism as opposed to, wherever it is on your depth chart right now, that it's going to come down a little bit. And it's going to be a process that is not going to be easy for you. You're going to fight it. You're going to try to carve out more time to go back to it. And then you're eventually going to realize if you always do what you've always done, you'll always be what you've always been. And you're not going to be just the volleyball player anymore. You're now a dad. What a privilege it is to take all of this and pay it forward to a young whippersnapper and be able to share that experience with your wife.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, dude. Gets me a little choked up. Every time I think about this little guy, I get a little choked up, man. No, that's so valuable. And it's cool to hear your thoughts on that and your experience. It's definitely something that I've toyed with and talked to other people about, and it just seems like it's just such a tough transition.
It is. I'll leave you with this. This is an analogy that a healer taught me when I brought him on after my mom passed, and he's been such an integral part of my life, and I love him so much. Shout out to you, Justin. When you hold on so tight to something, right? As I held on to the athlete identity so hard, you can't really hold that much. And so rather than just like fully let go, he was like, soften your fingers a little bit, soften your grip. You can hold a lot more sand here than you can here. And you talked about becoming a father. It expands your heart, expands your capacity. Now your plate doesn't just have volleyball, real estate, and your wife anymore. Now it has this little guy. Now it has providing and protecting in a different way. Now it has, I need to be around for bath time and story time and changing of diapers, and middle of the night I might have to go fix something and then come back and help nurture my wife while she's breastfeeding. And so your capacity is expanded a little bit, and volleyball is going to be a part of this, but it's not going to take up as much space anymore. And that's okay. It's just different.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. I think not clutching on to something so tight, it also gives you a breath of fresh air and able to like enjoy it more and just say, you know what? All right, let's enjoy the opportunities that come. And it doesn't have to be this, I got to qualify, I got to do it. It's just like, hey, let's enjoy the opportunity that you're still able to compete a little bit and go from there.
For sure. I also think one other way to play with the mental framework is, I think one of the healthiest things you can do is be with nature. Volleyball is a perfect way to do that, especially when you're in the sand, your toes are spread. You're not just linear like most people are in a gym. You're changing speed, you're changing direction, you're communicating. There's aggressive, there's absorptive, there's certain touch, bump, set, spike.
Yeah.
There's shit talking.
Oh yeah.
There's jumping up when your hands aren't together and getting ponged off the nose. Like there's cursing, there's frustration, there's management of sweat, there's sand in places it's not supposed to be.
Sounds like you played a little
it's
bit
funny.
yourself.
I played a lot of beach volleyball.
Nice.
I'm not good anymore, but I played quite a bit down in South Mission for a couple of years back in 2017, 2018.
Okay.
And I think it's such a phenomenal sport. I love it. I played my last year of high school after I committed to San Diego State. And it was very fun.
Let's get you out to an adult session, man. Would love to have you.
Yeah, I have so much to learn, but I'm malleable and I'm open-minded. So whatever you got, I'd definitely love to come out. But yeah, man, I think there's a lot of ways to hold space and have gratitude for that. And it depreciates the measurables of, man, I lost all my games today. It's like, no, I got to move out there. I got to play. I got some fresh air. Like volleyball players and surfers, man, their faces just look so peaceful to me. They connect with the sun. The wrinkles aren't there. Like, keep doing it, man. It's keeping you young.
Yeah, I'm going to try as long as I can and as long as the body's there. But it's the best sport. I love it.
I dig it, man. If you could have a billboard and leave a little piece of advice, whether that was personal, professional, or real estate, what would you like to put on that billboard to share with people?
Well, I do have a billboard idea. I'm glad you asked. It's
Yes.
not necessarily advice, but it's going to be my face over Bob Barker's body, and it's going to say, "The Bryce is right
Yes.
to sell your house."
Yes. I love it. What's funny about that is somebody asked me the other day if I happen to play for the Padres, what would my walkout song be? Yeah. And I said Vanilla Ice, Ice, Ice Baby, but I'd make it Bryce, Bryce Baby.
Dude, it's a great name. It's a great name.
It is, man. It was awesome chopping it up with you today. Thanks
Likewise. I brought you a little gift.
Oh, dude, thank you so much.
Hopefully you don't have too many
We got here.
Vessels to sip
Dude, this
warm
is so
liquids.
Cool. Oh, dude, thank you so much. I dig it. Urban Sands, guys. Check these guys out if you're in the real estate space or looking at short-term rentals, right? Or vacation rentals.
All the above, or if you just have a question, we're always happy to just give some sort of advice or input. And yeah, we do it all. So
I dig it, man. Dude, thank you so much. I don't think I've ever received a gift on the podcast. I'm always giving gifts.
well, hopefully you drink some sort of warm liquid.
Yeah, we do some coffee for sure.
Awesome.
Where can people find you, and how can they get in contact with you if they were interested in doing a real estate transaction?
Yeah, you can find us. We've got urban-sands.com, and that has all of our contact information. We also have an Instagram that our good friend Tana at Soul Marketing Collective helps us with, and that's urban.sands.realty.
Very cool.
But yeah, hit us up, and we're here if anyone needs us.
I love it. Guys, if you enjoyed my conversation with Bryce today, please rate, review, subscribe, and share with your friends. And as always, stay on the hunt for who you've not yet become. Until next time.